A Pint-A-Plain, your only man.
Oh Lord, shake me down, give me a Pint-A-Plain. Oh Lord, what can you do? Give me a Pint-A-Plain.
Sure, Lord save us. I could tell you yarns, right? I'd be a rich man, and I had a penny for every morning I was down at the markets at 7 o'clock in the early house, in the slippers, with the trousers pulled on over the pyjamas, and the overcoat buttoned up to the neck in the middle of the summer. Don't be talking, man. But the last time I was up there was that time the missus went down to Cork last November, I think it was. I won't forget that business in a hurry. I got the fright of my life. It's the best you ever heard. In the morning, I brought the wife down to Kingsbridge in a taxi. I wasn't thinking of drink, of course. I hadn't touched a drop in 4 months. But when I paid the taxi off, instead of going back in it, the wife gave me a look. Nothing said, of course, you know. But after the last row, I was for keeping off the beer for a year. But somehow, she put the thing into me head. Now, that was about 9 o'clock, I suppose. And I'll give you 3 guesses where I found myself at 9:10 in another taxi, heading for the markets. And I wasn't a more surprised man than myself, you know. Of course, in a way, it's a good thing to start at it early in the morning. Because with no food and all the rest of it, you're at home again and stuffed in bed before 4 o'clock. But you know, it's the late nights that's really the killer. 2 and 3 in the morning, getting poisoned in she beans and all classes of hookish stuff. Anyway, that was my first day back on it. The next day, where was I? Up at the markets before they opened. Now, there was another chap there, but I didn't look at him. I couldn't tell you what age he was or how bad he was. But there was no 4 o'clock malarkey that day. I was around the markets till about 12 o'clock or so, you know. Then off I go down to get shaved by a barber. Over there in Grafton Street. Not far from where I'm talking now. The great Davy Byrnes. Probably the best public house ever in Dublin, you know. Then up I went to a certain hotel and straight into the bar. There was a whole crowd of them, you know, fellas I knew like. Have a large one, have a small one. So-and-so's getting married on Tuesday. And my other man's wife had a baby. You know, that kind of stuff. Then somebody says, I thought you were off the drink. But in fairness, I had an unmerciful tank of malt on me that day. I was out of it. Gone. But I had a feed in the middle of it. Because I remember scalding myself with hot coffee or something, and I never touch any of that stuff. Only after a feed of drink, you know, which would be unusual like. But of course, I don't remember what happened to me, but I was back home the next morning with the clothes off. Now, by this time, I was well into the malt again, well into it. And out with me again, feeling like dead warmed up, into the local, curing myself for hours and hours, spilling stuff all over the place, with a shake in my hand, and then back up to the hotel again. Now, I'll give you a tip, right? Always drink in hotels. That way you can always say you're meeting a party on business and you're only having the one, you know. It looks very bad to be seen in bars during the daytime. It's just a thing to watch out. I'm just telling you, just watch out for that. I was caught out myself a few times. I'm telling you, that's the only reason I'm saying it. But anyway, off I went. I met a few pals that day, and the next thing I remember is waking up perished with the cold, as sick as I'd ever been in my whole life. What do? Back up to the markets. Taxis everywhere. And no food. Only a bowl of soup at the hotel. That was it. And I'm saying, like, how long is this going to go on? I don't know. Look, I'm all right in the middle of the day. But in the morning, I'm nearly too weak to walk, and the shake's getting worse every day. By this time, I'm really getting frightened. And look, I'm saying to myself, this'll have to stop. Something's going to give. Seriously. Sometimes I think I'm fooling myself, you know. No, I love to drink, and there's great fun, and the best people you'll ever meet, you know. But of course, only when they have a few drinks on them, you know. You know what I mean? Now, here's a good one. A friend of mine is a doctor. He's always in the hotel. He says he'll get me something to make me sleep. And he writes out a prescription and sends the porter out with it. The hotel porter. He comes back with long-shaped green ones. Take one, says he, you'll be fine. Now I know the doctor doesn't know how bad I am. I know how bad he is. So what do? I took another one in the Jacks. And 2 more on the bus home. I got into bed and I don't remember hitting the pillow. I wouldn't have gone off as fast if you hit me on the head with a hammer. Next thing I'm awake. And it's dark. I sit up. Now there's matches there and I strike one. I look at the watch. And the watch has stopped. I get up and I look at the clock. Of course the clock has stopped as well. Hasn't been wound for days. I don't know what time it is. She's gone. Then what do? I turn on the wireless. And I try about a dozen stations. Not one of them is telling me what time it is. Then another thought strikes me. What day is it? How long have I been asleep with this dose? So what do? I put on the clothes and off I go to find out what time it is and what even day it is. The funny thing is that I'm not feeling so bad. So off with me down the street. Now there's light showing in the houses. That means it's night time. Like not early in the morning. Then I see a bus. Then I see a clock. 9:20. But I still don't know what day it is. There's only one thing left to do. Go into the pub and have a look at the paper and order a bottle of stout. There was one here earlier, says the barman, but it's gone. No, not slagging him like. But that wouldn't happen in Davy Byrnes, I tell you. Never. His missus read it earlier on. She said there was nothing in it. Sure, it depends what you're looking for. Now, it's funny trying to find out what day it is. You can't stop a man in the street and say, would you have the right day, please? So anyway, I drink up the bottle of stout and march out into another pub. Now, I have the wind up now, and no mistake. How long was I knocked out by the drugs? 1 day? 2 days? Was I in bed for a week? Suddenly I saw a sight that gladdened my heart. Down the end of the bar was an outfla, reading the paper. I take a mouthful of stout and I march down to him. My mind was made up now. If he doesn't hand over the paper, I'll kill him. He's a dead man, I'm telling you. So I snatched the paper off him and I read the date. Thursday, the 22nd of November. I never enjoyed a piece of news so much in my life. I sat back in the seat, a relieved man. Then it hit me. Today was Thursday. Fair enough. But what day had I gone to bed? How long had I been under the influence of those pills? Well, I nearly collapsed. Put me head in my hands like that, you know. Then I had it. And do you know why? Because there was no beard. I must have been to the barber's for a shave that morning. So I'd only been in bed the 1 day. It was the barber's that gave it to me. Do you see, it pays to keep yourself neat. You know. By the way, throw us on a pint there, Billy, will you? And a bottle of malt as well. I'm celebrating. What are you having, lads? A Pint-A-Plain? Oh, Jesus. The whisper in the morning, the whisper in the night. Are you going for a pint? I am hanging about. The whisper in the morning. The whisper in the morning. Yeah, boy, look, go on. The whisper in the morning.